Good afternoon, Paul Hawksby, Andy Jacobs here on Talk Sport. We'll bring some clips of the week, of course, as always, a little bit later on. But joining us now and preparing to don the gloves and the boots once again is the former Newcastle and Holland keeper, Tim Krul. Good afternoon, Tim.
Afternoon, guys.
Yeah, you're going to be playing at Loftus Road. We've mentioned this game before. It's quite the lineup. It's the game for the children. 15th of December, 7:15 kickoff. Louis Saha, Ronald de Boer, Jaap Stam, JJ Okocha, William Gallas, Carlo Cudicini, David James. A lot of goalkeepers playing.
A lot of goalkeepers.
You can be swapped in and out. And Tim, you're going to be playing as well.
Yes, hopefully in goal and not getting shit out the left wing or something. So.
What's your outfield position, if you're given a choice?
I used to be all right on the left wing when I was still quick, but then obviously I started growing and I lost that pace, and they were like, well, you're the tallest, so you get into goal now.
Well, did you like going? Were you one of those that when you got the chance to go into goal as an outfield player, you would?
To be fair, yeah. Obviously, from 5 till 10, I was left wing. Yeah. And then, like I said, our goalkeeper moved on to another local team, and they just looked around and they said, right, you are the tallest. And to be fair, I started growing quickly. I lost my pace and the technique a bit, so they were like, you can go and goal now.
These days, goalkeepers have to have that technique.
Yeah, they talk about that, don't they? They get kids in academies and they think they might not make it as a centre-half or a midfielder, but they think they could be a keeper in there, so they convert them.
Yeah, well, especially, obviously, Pep changed the whole benchmark, what is expected of a goalkeeper with Edison. So you kind of have to be able to be that 11th outfield player now. So, yeah, having that kind of foundation at a young age, I think is vital for the young new generation coming up.
When was the last time you played, Tim?
Oh, the official game was Man City, my last ever game in the cup for Luton. Obviously, I continued training over the summer and officially retired 3 months ago. So, yeah, I need to go back in the garage and find those gloves and boots to
dust them all down. Yeah, well, it's a brilliant lineup. There's a few showbiz people in there as well. But it's all for a fantastic cause. Game for the children is going to be taking place, we said, 7:15 Loftus Road on the 15th of December. You can get your tickets from QPR, qpr.com/tickets to watch all those stars in action. If you're a QPR fan, you've got Charlie Austin there as well, Clarence Seedorf. Just a brilliant lineup. And Pete Doherty, QPR fan and musician, of course.
I don't think he'll be doing the full 90.
You may not do the full 90, no. Tim, it's interesting. We just had Eddie Howe's press conference and he's been talking about the goalkeeping position. A little bit of pressure on Nick Pope at the moment. He says he'll think long and hard about it. He doesn't like to chop and change, so defences can be used to a regular keeper. I mean, he does have Aaron Ramsdale there. What's your reading of it as a former Newcastle keeper?
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Ramsdale obviously will be jumping to get on the pitch. You know, he's played 2 cup games and he's a top goalkeeper playing for Arsenal. He's had an amazing season a couple of years ago and he's probably up there with the best goalkeepers England have. So for Newcastle to have 2 top goalkeepers is always going to be competition for places. I mean, Nick Pope has done unbelievable for the club the last couple of years. He's going through a bit of a patch this season where there's a couple goals going in that it's his fault, and he can patch it up how he wanted, and ultimately the goal he concedes against Marseille is costing the club vital points to stay in that top 8 in the Champions League. So, but then again, Man City in the weekend, he was very important for the team. So it's a balance, and ultimately Eddie doesn't want to change. I get that because he can rely on Nick Pope. He's won an amazing trophy last season. But yeah, there's a bit of pressure on there, but that's good for the team. You know, you need that competition, and Nick Pope will thrive, and he knows he needs to do better. He'll be the first one to hold his hand up and say that he could have done better.
There was a game, wasn't there, where Ramsdale came on for a penalty, just to save a penalty. Did that ring true with you? Did that ring a bell?
Yes, you've been there.
No, I don't know what you rely on here, but no, it's again, he's a top goalkeeper, so it's hard for him to move to Newcastle. He's obviously had a bad season at Southampton, and he's finding his feet again. And it's the hardest part as a number 2, where you're waiting for your time for an injury. Obviously, Nick Pope had a concussion a couple of weeks ago, but then it was only 10 days and it was an international break, so he didn't really get his chance. So it's a tricky position to be in, but ultimately, I think Eddie will stick with Nick Pope for a couple more games, but we'll all know a few more mistakes and a few more losses. The pressure will probably be heavy on Eddie to change to give Aaron a chance.
Normally with keepers, it used to be the way that there was very definitely a pecking order. You'd have your number one, the number two keeper. There would be a bit of a drop off because there was an understanding that you weren't going to see as much game time. But maybe less so at some clubs. Certainly at Newcastle, where you got two top keepers and someone like Mamadashvili at Liverpool as well. So I do wonder if that puts extra pressure on you. If like the number two's an international and someone who's chomping at the bit to play.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like competition, but I agree with you. I prefer to be the out and out number one and having that trust of your manager that you are able to make one or two mistakes. But again, you're challenging on 4 competitions, Champions League on a Thursday, then playing in a Sunday. One little injury, you need a top goalkeeper to be able to, obviously step in and be able to cope with these amazing levels like Premier League and Carabao Cup quarterfinals. So you need a big squad. We know that. And Eddie is the first one to admit that he wanted improvement of the squad in the summer, and they did. They recruited well, not just in the goalkeeping position.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you a question about Arne Slot, your fellow countryman, who's going through the ringer a bit at the moment. What have you made of what's going on at Liverpool? I don't think anybody can quite fathom it out.
Yeah, there's a lot been said about it, and rightly so. I mean, going to be the champions last year, Anfield was a fortress, and now teams are going there and they actually feel like they can get a result there. I mean, I don't think anybody would have expected PSV Eindhoven, with all the respect, to go there and beat them 4-1. So yeah, there's a lot happening obviously behind the scenes. We all know what happened in the summer with Jota, and clearly that has a massive impact. And people leaving, I don't think people really. They probably underestimated the impact of Trent on the right side, the relationship he had with Salah, even Nunes to an extent, Diaz leaving. But yeah, ultimately the players who've come in, they haven't stepped up to the plate and they haven't hit the ground running. And yeah, they just look vulnerable at the moment. So when you spend all that money on these top players coming in, you're expecting a lot more, and especially the money Liverpool has spent this year.
He's never been under pressure like this, really. I mean, he's never had a job with this profile. I mean, he did brilliantly last year, but do you expect him to ride it out? I'm sure you've kind of encountered him a bit over the years.
Yeah, he seems cool enough in his interviews, but deep down he'll be, of course, it's a horrible position to be in, to lose 7 out of 8 games. I think it's now, and that's not acceptable for a team like Liverpool. So everybody knows that. I think he'd be the one really, really trying his hardest to change things around, but the pressure's on, and you see the interviews with Virgil, and obviously you see Curtis Jones the other day having a really honest interview, but it's less talking now, and they're talking about not pressing and not putting tackles in. Those are the basics, and that's what Liverpool stands for. If you look at them last year, they were getting after teams and they were on the front foot, and it's just not happening this year.
No.
And finally, we've got the World Cup draw next week, and Netherlands are there, of course. They're pretty comfortable in their group. How are you feeling about the World Cup from a Dutch point of view, Tim?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's amazing. Mexico, Canada, and America. Holland, the expectations are always top 4, semi-finals. Anything less is a disappointment. So, yeah, there'll be big pressure, like England. Very similar outlook on that tournament, but one to really get excited about.
Well, Tim, good to talk to you. Enjoy getting the boots back on, and enjoy playing in that match. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Tim Krul there, Loftus Road, 15th of December. A lot of great charities going to benefit from that, including the homelessness charity Shelter, QPR in the community, and others. And as we said, a brilliant lineup of players going to be there. QPR.com/tickets. A game for the children, 7:15 kickoff on the 15th of December, and you'll see Tim in action. I mentioned the World Cup draw there, and drive ahead and across the pond. Next week, from Monday, Andy Goldstein, Darren Bent will bring you 5 live shows from the USA to get the party started ahead of the World Cup. So Andy and Darren will start their journey in New York before ending up in Washington, D.C., where the draw's taking place, and we'll find out what the home nations will be facing at the World Cup in June. Lots of guests joining them along the way, including Rio Ferdinand, Ali McCoist, Nigel Rio-Coker, Brad Friedel, and lots more besides. That's Drive live from the USA from the 1st to the 5th of December.